Hello, my friend, and welcome to Security and Secure, hosted by me, Johnny Seifert. This is the Celebrity Mental Health podcast. I say it's okay to not be okay. And if you have the same mantra as me, please leave a 5-star rating and a review. And let me tell you about my guest today. My guest today, you will know from Love Island Season 8, where she reached fourth place with her now boyfriend, Andrew LePage. A model and now author of her first book, Hit Different, tells the story of Cassie. And quoting the likes of Gemma Collins, High School Musical, and 50 Shades of Grey, this is the book you need to read this summer. She joins me today to talk about her mental health journey and how having a cochlear implant has affected her mental health and her confidence. And we'll do that by working through her book, Hits Different, which is out by now, published by Bonnier Books. So without further ado, please welcome to Security and Secure. It's Tasha Ghouri. Hello, Tasha.
Hello, how are you?
Well, a little bit of a wreck at the moment after finishing your book, Hits Different. I didn't think you were going to make me cry.
Oh, I'm glad. I mean, that's a good thing, though. I think it's like a nice cry, hopefully, in a positive way.
A happy cry. I think a happy cry is amazing. And I think with a book, because you can't see the characters, and I know obviously you've described them meticulously, but you've gone on that journey with them. And so no matter how long you read a book for, whether it's a day, a week, a month, that is your best friend. And so this story of Cassie comes everywhere with me. And so I feel like I know her really well. And so, you're rooting for her. And then when she gets no spoilers, but when she has different moments, you feel that emotion inside you.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the beauty of the book. Cassie really is on this journey of self-growth and finding her self-confidence as well, having disability. And especially the dance industry, it's so cutthroat. But, she goes through the hard times and you can see her getting through them, overcoming the obstacles. And that's what really the message is about. It's about actually you need to love yourself first before loving somebody else. And that's what is really the true message.
When was it that you started loving yourself and truly loving yourself, like Cassie has done? How does that reflect to your personal life, Tasha?
I would say it didn't start until my early 20s when I really started to, be in my dance career. My dancing massively helped me with my confidence and my self-love because such a safe space of where I can go to be free. It's a safe space of where I don't get judged. It's somewhere where I can be Tasha for an hour and a half and be whoever I want to be as well. And that's where I really started to truly love myself because I realized actually I need to stop letting my cochlear implant define me. It's a part of me that's special and unique. It's not doesn't make me Tasha. And that's what I was doing before. I was literally making it about me in such a negative way when actually I realized I need to embrace the beauty of it and not let it define me in such a negative way.
But how did you get to that position? Because if it's taken you 20 years to get there, you had the implant put in when you were 5 years old. And so you had 15 years where you had to get used to this thing. Obviously, it impacted your life in various different ways. But to go from that journey to that acceptance must have been really hard. And it's not something that happens overnight, is it?
No, I always say it's something that does not happen overnight. I always say everyone has different journeys with it, everyone has different timings with it, it's different for everybody. But whereas for me, it was a long process, especially in high school. I was the only deaf student in my school. So that already felt isolating. That already felt like no one could understand what I was going through. I couldn't have conversations with people where they could relate or understand what I was going through. So at the time, especially in teenage years, you've got hormones, you trying to figure out who you are, trying to figure out your future, you have so much pressure. And even me wanting to be a dancer, I had people telling me that's not a real career. So I had so much negativity in school, it just really overtook me. And I was probably at my lowest point. I went through another operation as well when I was 16, because my cochlear implant broke. So I had to get a whole new reoperation, a whole new implant, and I had to do all my first year A levels in my second year. So that was another rock bottom point for me. I had to be deaf for 5 to 6 months because I had to let my ear heal, I had to wait for my operation. So there's been a lot of tough times, but I always say the tough times make you so much stronger. They make you so much more resilient. They make you so much more, like that fighting energy. And so I came back stronger each time. And probably, my early 20s, that's when I realized, I just need to start embracing it.
How did you find that experience at school, though? Because when I talk to a lot of Love Islanders, and I've had over 100 on this podcast, Good and Good, I'm always interested in who they were at school. You're a beautiful girl, you're popular. What we saw in Love Island, you were very liked, you had a lot of friends. The way you live your life now as an influencer in the TikTok dancing, you've got all that confidence. And yet there was one element, I suppose, of you that held you back a little bit. But that is a physical thing, but what about the mental side? How did you deal going through school, making friends, and who were you in that year group of school when you put yourself in that line?
The old Tasha is somebody that you know, I'd wear my hair down. I used to hide my cochlear implant. If people asked me about it, I used to be like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to, you know, mention it. It was because I didn't feel like I was safe enough to talk about it then. And mentally, I just wasn't Tasha. I think I was just somebody that was trying to battle through her demons in a way, you know, in school. It was kind of a time where I'd come home, I'd lock myself in the bathroom, and I'd just cry because no one just understood the frustration I had. Especially in class, like teachers would turn away from me and write on a whiteboard, put me in the back of the class, I lip read, like all the situations were so draining. And, you know, what got me through it was thinking school's not forever. Like I knew school wasn't forever. And I just kind of had to think, I knew that I was going to get out of this town. I knew that I was going to fly and go to London and do my thing. So I always had that tunnel vision of just get through the hard times and you will fly, basically.
On page 209 of your book, Hits Different, you start going through what the implant is. And so what it looks like, where the microphone is, where the batteries are, etc., etc. Like you said, you hid it for so long. Do you remember that first moment where you accepted it and you pulled back your hair and you just had it on show and you thought, this is me?
I think the time where I really, really said, you know, this is truly me was probably I was at a dance class. And, you know, when you're in a dance class, at the end of class, you do it in groups, you get filmed, teachers pick you out. And my best friend, Josh, who's the choreographer of the dance at the time, he picked, you know, 5 of us out. I was front and center in the middle. There's this camera here. And normally, when sometimes my cochlear implant falls out because you fashion your head about, you're whipping your hair, you're doing your craziness, and it blew out. And in that moment in time, something in me switched and said, Tasha, keep going, like, don't stop. Like, something in my mind just really just changed in that moment. Whereas before, I would walk off, I'd storm off, I'd be crying, I'd be upset, I slammed doors in front of the teachers. It wasn't healthy at all. But something that day just changed and was like, Tasha, do not give up. Like, and I stayed in time with music, I still carried on, had got choreography right. And I remember seeing Josh just sat there crying because he's trained me for 3 years at that point. And, you know, he came over to me and said, you did it. No, you did it. And that's the moment where I felt that change of, wow, I feel like I'm truly just being myself and show who I really am. That was probably the moment.
Well, with that moment, let's use a quote from page 316 from your book. I feel the vibrations through my body, all the cue I need. I'm a butterfly opening her wings. Nothing can hold me back. I'm ready to fly. And I nail every step without hearing any of the music. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful lines. Bringing it up to then, you've started getting into dance, you've moved to London, you then have this new confidence in yourself to go, look, this is me. And you decide that you want to get into TV. And the first show that you went for was Too Hot to Handle on Netflix. And they obviously rejected you at the time. And, you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And you wouldn't have had Love Island had you done that. However, what I'm interested in is what was it about TV that made you go, right, I want to be there, but I don't want to be there to showcase my disability. I want to be there to be me.
I think when it comes to TV, like, there's not enough representation on TV. So for me, it was kind of when Too Hot to Handle came at the time, I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. Like, why not? I wanted to show people that even though you have a disability, you can find love. You can be this confident person that flirts with guys, that can, you know, be sexy and all these kind of elements. And you know, that's why when it came to TV, I really wanted it to showcase that because there's such a stigma around people with disabilities. Can't find love, you know, can't be sexy, can't be confident, can't be attractive. And I'm just so tired of hearing that stigma. So that's why when it came to TV, especially dating shows with romance, that's such a huge spot where the stigmas needs to be broken down and show that actually, no matter what disability you have, you can still find love, you can be confident, and whoever you want to be doesn't define you. So when that opportunity came knocking the door, so it got rejected, but I still didn't let it phase me. I said, you know what, this could be a perfect opportunity to show that you can be that person.
But how do you feel though? You get the application form, you fill it out, you put name, you put your date of birth, you put your gender, etc. And then it has the disability section and, you know, the equal opportunities. Sometimes I'm Jewish, and so when the religion question comes up, I'm like straight away gonna just tick Jewish. I found my little niche. And, you know, sometimes I think I look at TV and like on Love Island, for example, the only person who's Jewish who's ever been on it was E.R. Booker. And sometimes I'm like, oh, there needs
Yeah.
to be more Jewish representation. How do you feel though, from a disability point of view, of going, I'm disabled? Because, you know, being Jewish doesn't define me, and you wouldn't know unless you know. And like with yourself, there's certain things that need to be put in place to allow you to have the space, for example, that you can recharge your batteries for your implant, for the fact that you might have a moment where you need to be able to lip read someone in case you can't properly hear. And so extra precautions need to be put in place. So how do you feel when you're doing these shows and you're going, right, I've got to tick that box, but I don't want that to be a detriment, that they see it as a hindrance rather than as a positive?
When it came to like the Love Island process, for example, I mentioned it straight away. I said, I wear a cochlear implant just to let you know. Like, I would put it out there straight away because then they knew from the start. And throughout the whole process, I did hearing tests, and it made me go do like private hearing tests to make sure they knew how much I could really hear. And they asked me about what I needed in the filler. So I was very upfront and honest and said, look, at the time it was actually my old ones had batteries. I said, I also will have spare parts of me that I'll need in the filler with me. At the end of the bed in the cabinet bin, that's where it was all hidden. So all my batteries, all my spare parts. And when it came to water challenges, I said to them, I need to know before we do the challenge if it's going to be water based or not. I can put my water cover on. I need time to put that on. And so it's quite scary because part of me was worried that it's going to be too much for them, like to handle in a way. I thought, okay, they're definitely going to not let me in because it's probably too much of a fuss. But actually, they were so open and they really, really took into consideration of what I needed. And they really did support me in those terms in the filler and just before, which is great. So I think it is scary when you apply because you don't know how they're going to take it. And I think that's my biggest worry. You don't know how TV shows will take it, but I think you just have to be confident in yourself and, just educate as much as you can at the same time.
There's more work to be done around awareness of different
Yeah.
representations. And with a show like Love Island, you came on day one and you were there all the way up to the finals. So we got to see your journey from a disability perspective, as well as obviously getting to know you. Same on Strictly with Rose Ayling-Ellis, and we saw her journey and obviously that amazing, amazing moment she did with Giovanni a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Then, we had Hugo Hammond, and then this year, Patsy goes into Love Island, and she lasts a week. And she was, for them, and I hope this is okay in saying, that was their representation of disability for this year. However, she's gone out in the second week, and there's still 6 more weeks of Love Island, where now we have got no representation for disability. And so the messages that she would have wanted to put across, the messages and the agenda that you would want to put across, now isn't there for 6 weeks. So now what happens to representation for Love Island?
Yeah, it's interesting actually, like you said there, I think for me, even across all TV shows, I want to see more in terms of not just having that one person with disability. I want to see, why not 3? Why not 4? I feel like it's always has to be that one person. And that's not really being inclusive, I don't think. It's with every show out there. I think they need to be more inclusive in terms of actually we can have more than one and continue that momentum. I feel like it's just ticking a box and, okay, we've got that, we've done it, tick it. When actually, my dream in the future is to have a dating show where it's all very inclusive, but also having honest conversations, hearing conversations where they're talking about their disability, sharing their experiences, because that will help so much, especially for the younger generation, to watch the TV and be like, oh, I can totally relate and understand that. And I think that's the rawness that we're missing from TV shows, is having those honest conversations about disabilities. Especially when I was in the filler, I had so much conversations about my cochlear implant, how it works, why sometimes I was very emotional because I was so drained from lip reading all day and having so many conversations. It was a strain on my brain. And that's why sometimes I was absolutely exhausted. That's why I was maybe so much more sensitive. Situations like that, where people didn't learn that because it wasn't shown on TV. So that's just the only part that's missing when it comes to TV shows, is actually that rawness and realism and education, because that would educate so many people, or the national whole world, and realize, oh, okay, that's why the way she is sometimes. But because that wasn't shown, that's what was missing.
But do you think in the media at the moment that we're ready for that? I feel like, and I because I want to have this open, honest conversation with you, and I want to be learning from you. But my feeling is it sexy enough to have those deep conversations? Too Hot to Handle, I see it as an educational show. And so I love the workshops that they do on it. Same with Celebs Go Dating with the therapy side. And I talk to Anna and Paul a lot from Celebs Go Dating. We always talk about the therapy versus just them dating. I don't really want to see the dates. And yet, if you think about the way reality TV's gone, and you look at Geordie Shore kind of as their first big thing, it was like, that's sexy. We want to be watching relationships. If you're having the educational side and you're sitting down and talking, I'm not getting to watch two people romp. And that's what I need to watch for desertification. And so is it the fact that it needs to be a reality show that focuses on that, similar to, Danny Minogue doing her I Kissed a Girl, I Kissed a Boy shows for BBC Three, which is a bit more niche? Or is it that we need a documentary, we need a radio series, we need to go into schools and have these conversations rather than it being an actual reality show?
I think when it comes to reality shows, I think it's a great opportunity because it's on TV and, it's a very great way to reach the audience, I think. And I think for me, my dad had to go to the headlines, go to the press and tell people why I was the way I was in the villa, when I feel like it shouldn't be that way. I feel like it should be actually, if I just mentioned it in a 2-minute conversation with Andrew, that was just shown, tip, do what I mean? It's not so much time that actually takes up that whole episode. It's literally a small little segment. So I think it's quite, obviously social media is very powerful as well. I think social media can also be a positive thing, it can make such a good impact on people. And I think the more voices we have on social media, the better. And I think especially with my social media, I try and, educate in a positive way. I think I had a lot of ableism when I was on the show. And when I came out, I said, you know what, I'm going to use it as my motivation to educate people. And I went onto TikTok. I actually took out my implant. I showed, how it worked. I showed all the specific parts. I explained why sometimes I was emotional, etc., etc. And the amount of people that said, I'm so sorry, I did not know that, goes to show the lack of education and awareness there is.
That's you using your social media to the good, and that's you being in control of it. What about the flip side when you're not on control of it? The fact that you're in a public eye, you're in a public relationship, and regardless of the disability or anything, but just the fact that you've come off Love Island with a boyfriend, and the way that everyone feels they've got a bit of ownership to the two of you. And obviously, you've been on a very, very safe journey since leaving the villa together. You've not had the ups and downs of people have had to get involved. But there's a lot of scrutiny when it comes to relationships, social media, Love Island, etc. How has your mental health been impacted by the use of social media? Because you're very, very active on it. And as much as how brilliant you are, and I love watching your dancing, there's also the other element that we know there's just this minefield of trolls who are just trying to outget any reality star, basically.
I think when it came to, dealing with social media afterwards, I just had to remember my roots and just remember, it's so easy to get lost into that world. It's so easy to lose yourself. And for me, the main thing was to not do that. So I had the right support around me, and I made sure that, I would have stuck with what I'm passionate about. So fashion, makeup, raising awareness, other situations. And that's what made me motivated. I think when I saw like the trolls and when I see negative comments now, I'm actually like, yeah, whatever, block, delete. Like I have control over that. I have control to be able to block you. And I'm not going to be upset about it. I'm going to be like, you know what, that's fine. Your opinion, block you and never see my profile again. So that's kind of how I see it now. And, sometimes there'll be some negative comments where I can reply and kill them with kindness, more like if they need to be educated, or I still get loads of comments about the way I speak, especially when I do ads, especially with eBay ones. There's a lot of people that are like, oh my God, why she speak like that? She sounds annoying, like, all those horrible comments. And sometimes I reply to saying, just so you know, I wear cochlear implant, I was born deaf, and that's why. And
Can you just expand that? Sorry, can you just expand, because you spoke about it in your book as well, of Cassie, just the way to speak. So just for anyone who's watching or listening, if they do want to understand a little bit more about the disability and how it does affect your speech, can you just talk about that process and the way that you hear things, etc.?
Yeah, so for me, when I first got the cochlear implant, I couldn't speak till I was about 6 years old. So I had to go through speech therapy, and the way that I hear myself is quite interesting. I can't explain it, but I feel like I sound quite high pitched and quite not so monotone, but quite like one level. And that's because we don't hear from our ear, we hear from the cochlear implant, and that's where people get confused. So my ears aren't fixed. It's actually, there's an external part, which is cochlear implant, and the internal part. And you have a magnet inside. And when the external part connects to the magnet, that's what activates the cochlear implant. And when sounds travel, it travels through the transmitter inside, and that's how it recognizes sounds. So when I take out my implant, my voice goes a lot deeper, very more monotone, a lot slower. And that's just purely because I can't hear myself. I can't hear how loud I'm speaking. I'm shouting. So that's why our speech is called like a deaf accent. It's because you see it a lot in deaf people. We sound kind of similar. People, especially with hearing aids, might be the same, but it's more with cochlear implants and people that don't have cochlear implants. So that's the reason why that my speech may sound a bit different. Some words I can't really pronounce as great. So like Andrew, people like I say it very different as like to Ghouri. So yeah, things like that is, it's just purely because it's due to my cochlear implant.
So we were talking about Love Island before that, and obviously how you did it and dealt with the mental health after. Coming out the villa, ignoring social media, how did you and Andrew find navigating your relationship? Because it's kind of going, well, look, we're in such an intense bubble, and now we're back to this whole freedom, and we need to get to know ourselves. Because you are a success story of the show, and you're one of the few who are real success stories who have, lasted the test of time out the show, but also gone back to the beginning to move forward again.
I think it's hard when you come out, you have opinions left, right, and centre. I remember coming out and so many people said, yeah, they're not going to last. Yeah, she's going to cheat on him. No one believed in us. We actually did have the whole world against us, probably until the last 2 weeks when people started to realise actually they do like each other. There is love there. And I think coming out, we communicated, we really talked to each other. Whenever I felt sad, whenever he felt annoyed, we would sit down and we would tell each other. And I think that massively helps when you're trying to navigate a new relationship in a public eye and you have all these opinions bouncing at you. And I remember the first thing we did actually, we went on holiday, pretty much like 3 weeks after we came out. And that's the best thing we probably ever could have done, because that's a great time to really just spend time together and utilize that time to get to know each other more on a deeper level and just ignore the outside noise and what we went through for 8 weeks. Even to this day, we always say that communication, I know it's like such a typical advice, but it really was the pivotal thing for both of us to really stay strong in our relationship and get through it all. And sometimes, there'd be times where people would just say something to try and break you up, but you have to be headstrong together and have to have each other's back and believe in your relationship. And we believed in us. We believed that we love each other. So that's what really, really helped us get through it all. And we always stay positive as well. We focus on the good. We focus on, making memories together, the future together. So that's what really helped us navigate through, all the white noise outside.
Well, talking of future, the past couple of episodes also took years ago, we had Jessie Winter, who said that her and Will Farmer are planning to have kids. Last week, Liberty Poole spoke about her boyfriend Josh for the first time and how she's navigating that relationship. Over to you, Tasha. What is the next stage for Tasha and Andrew? Because there's only so many dances you can do by your bed with Andrew lying there playing on his phone. Are you
He'll
going to
never
get
get
married
sick of
soon?
it.
Are you having kids soon? Tell me all the tea, Tasha.
So I think when it comes to marriage, we both want to get married. Andrew's made it clear that he wants to marry me one day. So obviously then now the ball's in his courts. And I guess I'm just waiting for the day to get the ring. You know what? We're not in a rush either. I think we're both just, we bought a house together, enjoying that process. And then when it comes to kids, I feel like it's such a taboo kind of subject, because I feel like there's always pressure when you're going to have kids, when you're going to do it. And I think, for us two, we don't really see it in our future at the moment. I think we're both just very happy as us two and our dog Luna and just doing our thing. And I think we both want to make those memories together and not have that responsibility of having a child in our lives at the moment. Like we're just not ready for that responsibility. So we just want to focus on ourselves and have fun and just make loads of memories and just enjoy it.
Well, let's go back to your book. Page 9. A voice in my mind says it would be worse to not try and never find out. Again, another beautiful line. I love the quotes that you've got all the way through this book. I know you wrote it with Lizzie Huxley Jones. She did an amazing job as well, just weaving that all together. So what have you not tried? What do you think has held you back in your journey up to where you are now, 26 years old, of I wish I had put myself forward for that. I wish I had done that and not been held back, whether it was my disability or Andrew or TV or the way that social media is. There's something that you think has held you back?
I think what really held me back was caring so much about what people thought about me. I really, really just cared so much about people's opinions about me, especially negative ones. I just let it get to me so much. It held me back in so many situations. And, I wish that I didn't let it bother me, because I feel like I actually would have grown a lot more, especially in school, especially in college. In college, I always kind of wasn't, I was at a performing arts college, so I was trained to be as a dancer, singer, and acting. And when it came to like the dancing part, that's my favorite part, and I always would be put at the back. Like I never really was treated as someone that could have a dance career kind of situation. And I really let that get to me. I really let that push me down and lose my confidence, because I cared so much about what the choreographers thought of me, for example. So I think that's my biggest regret looking back. I wish I said to my younger self, don't care about what people think, like focus on you, focus on your path and your journey, and don't compare yourself to other people. I was so bad with that. Always compared myself to other people's journey. I'd be like, why have I got that job? Why is she doing that? But I'm not, you know, I was very like that back then. And I always used to blame it on my disability, actually. Like, oh, it's because I'm deaf or I wear cochlear implant. So I really do regret having that kind of language that I spoke to myself about. But you live and you learn from it. And now I actually speak to myself kindly, and now I don't compare myself. And now I think, you know what? People's opinions, everyone's always going to have an opinion, not everyone's going to love you. And that's something I massively learned, you know, over the past few years.
Oh, Tasha, your book Hits Different is so good. For anyone who needs to read it this summer, what is the one reason why they should be buying it this year?
If you're looking for a book where you want, obviously you want a bit of romance, absolutely. But if you want a book where it has a really true message of trying to navigate obstacles that come your way, and how to navigate them in a positive way, and you learn about, you know, what a cochlear implant is, you know, what's non-binary, or the situations of this book is for you, this is perfect for you. And, you know, it's a really good chance for you just to also dig deep in yourself, and you follow Cassie's journey, but you're also on your own journey with her, and you probably will learn so much about yourself as well, and you may dig some old memories when you're reading it.
Absolutely. And also, it starts conversations in your head to just be a little bit more patient. I mean, we didn't talk about it, but page 54 of your book, you spoke about disability in airports and how that affects you. And, you know, there's a lot of themes there as well where just start questioning those around you and thinking, what else can you do? Your book, Hits Different, is out to buy now, published by Bonnier Books. Please do go and buy Hits Different. It's available everywhere you get your books from, on Amazon especially. And massive thanks to Tasha Ghouri. If you love Love Island like I do and you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a 5-star rating, click that subscribe button, leave a review, and keep spreading the word. It's okay to not be okay. There's over 100 Love Islanders who've all been on Secure and Secure telling their mental health journey. So do go and check them out in the library. As I said, Jesse Winter, Liberty Pool on in the past couple of weeks. Antigone is on next week. And then loads of the Love Islanders who are in the villa right now are going to be coming out and coming on straight onto Secure and Secure to tell their mental health journeys. If you enjoyed this episode, you enjoy Secure and Secure, and you want to see a bit more of me on social media, I put little teasers out everywhere. On TikTok at Johnny Seifert 92, on Instagram at Secure and Secure Podcast, and at Johnny Seifert. Where can people find you, Tasha?
Instagram, it's Tasha Ghouri, TikTok's Tasha Ghouri1, and I'm also on Snapchat if you're a Snapchat person, and that's also Tasha Ghouri.
Amazing. Do go and check her out. Check me out and buy Hits Different. I'm Johnny Seifert. Until next time, thank you and goodbye.